Ladies and gentlemen, it's currently late September 2024, and we may very well be seeing the rise of a chess player who will soon overtake Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. I am speaking about the 21-year-old Indian sensation, Arjun Erigaisi. Now, if you're following the chess world right now, and also if you're watching this in 2025, a different Indian superstar is playing or has already played for the World Chess Championship, and that is Gukesh. But Erigaisi is a monster. And today he has the opportunity to be yet another individual to cross the golden territory of 2,800 over the board ELO. Very few have been able to do this in their careers. And today he's playing in the Bundesliga in Germany. Yes, there is a Bundesliga for chess. It's a little bit less cool than the one with football matches. And he has an opportunity to cross 2,800. So let's see how it goes. Also, I would like for all of you to know I launched a Snap. You see, I used Snap when I was a teenager. Then I kind of stopped. But I hear that Snap is all the rage nowadays. So I'm going to be posting stuff on there like behind the scenes of my life, gym progress, dog photos, my family. So if you watch this video today, I'm actually finishing recording, and then I'm going to go visit my family. So you might as well go follow. I'm going to be posting stories. You're going to get to meet all the members of the Gotham household. It's going to be fun. So yeah, go check it out. Levy.Rosman. I think that's my username, right? Levy.Rosman. Yeah, there we go. And if anybody watches this in the future, check out the Snap. I'll be posting chess stuff on there. I'll probably answer some of your questions, whatever famous people do on a Snap nowadays. I don't know. Back when I was a teenager, it had different uses. Okay, here we go. It's the Bundesliga. It is Arjun Erigaisi, and it is Gurel. Now, fun fact about the person playing with the white pieces. It is Gurel. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I'm probably not. He's from Turkey, and he is the #1 rated player from the entire country now. He's only 15 years old. And he's born on the same day as me. We're both born on December 5th. And the reason I really like this matchup, before I show you any more moves, is that it is very nice. He played my coach at the Chess Olympiad, told my coach some nice things, told him to pass message of support to me and that he's a fan of the channel. So if he ever wants to be featured on here, if we ever do interviews or get back to the podcast, the door is open. And Arjun Erigaisi called me the best chess influencer in the world. So this is just a feel-good matchup, all right? Both dudes, fans of the Gotham channel. I'm a fan of both of theirs. And we've got Gurel, who's like the future of chess in Turkey, along with Erdogmas. And we have Arjun Erigaisi, who today is trying to cross 2,800. Some of you may be wondering why Erigaisi is 2778. That is because that is his official rating for the entire month of September. Unofficially, he's 2797. I understand the ELO system is a bit stupid. Okay, but seriously, follow me on Snap. Gurel plays e4, and the way you know very quickly that Erigaisi is trying to play this position for a win is that he plays bishop c5. That's not a move. If you check the opening database here in the Spanish, black generally plays a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castles, bishop e7 or bishop c5, the archangelos, rook e1, castles. White goes for c3, excuse me, not castles, what am I doing? Move order is important. b5, bishop b3, and then castles, otherwise there was bishop c6 and knight e5. White plays, an anti-marshal, whatever. Bishop c5 is not a move, and for the beginners that are watching this, you might go, what? I always do this. At the high level, move order matters, as you saw there, right? It matters what move you play. Bishop c5 is not really a move. It's a very provocative move because now white can play a very quick c3, d4, which is exactly what he does. He plays c3. Erigaisi now plays knight to f6, and now we have d4. Now, in the candidates, Hikaru was putting his knight on e7 very often. So he was putting his knight on e7, and then he was castling, and he was getting some very dynamic positions. But Erigaisi puts the knight on f6 and just allows d4. Just completely allows it. And you'll notice that Gurel is spending a lot of time, right? So Arjun playing for a win with black, waving the flag in front of the bull, e takes d4, white plays e5, which is the critical move. Every single time that black plays a setup that is dubious, so keep this in mind, this is a lesson for everybody watching. If you have a certain opening that you play and your opponent plays in a way that's completely not something that you see very often, it means that there is a refutation in quotes. Sometimes there is a refutation that completely wins. Sometimes there is a refutation that puts a lot of pressure and your opponent has to play perfectly. Well, Erigaisi now has to play perfectly because Idis is playing this completely critically. He's playing all the best moves. The bishop now actually has to leave the center of the board. If black were to absent-mindedly castle, after here, bishop e7, queen b3, black is nearly lost already. You've just been overrun in the center of the board. You can't play chess like this. Black has to play knight b8 and barely survives. So black plays bishop to e7. We have cd4, d6. All these moves have been played before. And now we have knight e4. And this is the first move out of theory. And it's pretty obvious. Gurel is down 36 minutes on the clock. Obviously, the Erigaisi surprise has worked. Arjun is probably right now a top 3, top 5 most well-prepared players in the world. The Indian opening preparation is so deep, and I think part of it is that they have a collective effort. I'm sure Erigaisi has multiple people at all times doing opening research for him. They give him the moves, and not during the game, before the game, and then he just goes to work. So now he thinks on his own. He plays a6. Actually, the funny thing is this position has been reached before. It was reached in 2023 in a game in St. Louis, Missouri. In the database, I think black castled in this position. In this game, Erigaisi attacks the bishop, Gurel plays takes, and now plays bishop g5. White no longer has an advantage. As you can see here, black has done his job. He's equalized with a 30-plus minute time advantage. So all signs are pointing to the fact that Erigaisi is well on his way to cross 2,800. Fun fact, I think if he wins this game, he's going to be 27.99.92, which rounds up, but that's pretty hilarious. Bishop g5 is the move that Gurel chooses. He chooses this move because he doesn't want black to have the bishop pair, and if he plays rook e1, Arjun will play h6, preventing anything from going to g5, and then slowly, black will just get a better position, simply by having the bishop pair, by having the b-file, by having the kind of more centralized knight, and jumping into the white position. So bishop g5, he gets rid of the bishop pair, takes, and now we have the following position to work with. It is a very complicated game. There are many possibilities here for white. You can play b3 to block the bishop. You can play a3. The reason a3 is bad, light squares get weakened. Black will play rook b8, put pressure here. So rook e1, obviously, and nothing wrong with centralizing the rook. This looks like a free pawn on a2. It's not, because the bishop gets trapped. You can play rook b8. I'll play knight d2. Rook a1 is next. Queen c2 is next. You lose the bishop. So Arjun plays a5, right? Spends a little time. And a very common idea. Everything in black's position looks good. You don't want to touch anything. So let's just advance our flank pawn and put our pressure on, and put the pressure on this side of the board. Edis now plays b3. Plays b3 to stop a4. Again, he could have played something like h3, but now this no longer works because after b3 there is a4. You now get out with the bishop, and you will spend the rest of the game trying to pick up this pawn, at which point you will probably just have a better position with black. So b3, queen d7, and h3. White is trying to repel the bishop from going to g4, and is basically trying to bait Arjun into this move. Now, okay, it's one thing to equalize with black. Arjun has seemingly equalized with black. It's another thing to actually win the game with black. Like, at a certain point, you got to kind of sit there and go, I don't think I can win this game. Arjun plays knight d5, okay? Knight d5 is obviously trying to come forward. He's trying to improve his position. Maybe he's going to b6 to prepare this a4 move. Maybe he's going to play f5. So, for example, f5, take with the knight, take with the rook, double the rooks, and play bishop d5. Or even sack the bishop, right? This looks smart. I mean, if you're trying to win a chess game, opening the position like this, attacking the king, the bishop on d5 is a monster. Protected by a pawn, which is protected by a queen. And the bishop on d5 cannot be attacked by any pawn. So a bishop in the center on d5 is just beautiful. It's a beautiful bishop, right? So here, though, Edis finds a really nice move. He finds knight d2. And this move is a problem for black, because the knight is going to c4, where it's going to put some meaningful pressure on the position, and also your queen is getting involved, and also the third rank has cleared if you would like to launch a counterattack. Knight d2 is a very nice move, which is why Erigaisi plays f5 after only 7 minutes of thought. Now we have e takes f6, and it's quite clear here that Edis wanted backup, right? So the idea is knight f6, rook f6, and now the knight can actually just go to e4 with the tempo, not to mention rook c3, and actually you win the race to the g file. So it's actually white who starts the attack on black. So knight d2, very nice idea. And this bishop now can be countered with moves like knight f1, knight e3. Knight f1, knight e3, go for the bishop. Queen d3 with a check. Pressure on the c file, pressure on the e file, pressure on the e file. Tough position. But then here, I mean, and this is, Eric Geisy is a lunatic, an absolute lunatic. He plays such a controlled demolition style of chess. Eric Geisy takes provocations and risks like no top player I have seen since maybe old Hikaru. Hikaru's old now. I mean, older version of Hikaru when he was younger. That was confusing. Like, Hikaru used to be a very provocative player, but as he became a 2750, 2800, he kind of tried to play a bit more positionally. That's oversimplifying it, but that's the best oversimplification I can do. Like most people here with black play knight f6, rook f6. Because the losing chances are lower. If you look at the historic players right now who are like 27 plus age and rated over 2700, 90% of them would play this. Arjun Erigaisi is young. He doesn't know, he's not afraid of what he doesn't know. He doesn't have the anxieties of being older. He plays g takes f6. This is a psychotic move. Psychotic. First of all, you block your rook. Second of all, you open your king. Third of all, you now have double pawn islands. Everything about this move is wrong. And yet, refuting it is not easy. Why? Because, well, this is the best move for white. And you're just playing directly into the kingside attack. Knight f4. I mean, it's not an easy position at all. And Edis clearly was a bit put off. And that's why he played, he just kind of made an improving move, stopping knight f4. But now here comes the f-pawn. And actually, Erigaisi is a genius. I mean, he, like I said, controlled demolition. He's better. He's better with black. I mean, it's incredible how he does this. Now, the best move here for black is actually to play f4, which is hard to do because you allow the knight to go back to the center. But actually, if you just take a deep breath, black is just better here. It's not easy for white to make a move. You could go for this pawn on a5, but if you wander over here and take it, you can even take another pawn. Your king falls apart. So rook g8, something like king h2, and the attack is quite strong. Now, of course, it's very complicated, very complicated. So he plays rook f6, right? He doubles up. Computer doesn't like rook f6 very much because of knight h5, rook g6, knight f4, knight takes f4, queen takes f4. So Arjun clearly thought after rook f6, he spent 11 minutes here. There is something to be said about overthinking, right? Arjun obviously looked at many options here. He went for this. He went for all of this. He went for this position, and he thought he was better. But what's funny is if white just plays g3, there is zero attack for black. Zero. There is no attack, which is kind of nuts. And then white is going to go knight b1, knight c3, get rid of the bishop. So black probably has to play a4. And then you can even play knight c4, but even knight f1. Because after ab takes and bishop b3, black is a pawn up, but it's actually white who has the initiative now. So Erigaisi, I think, had a bit of the 2800 goggles. Again, controlled demolition, right? He was like, my bishop's on d5, I'm killing him. And by the way, Edis respected the idea. He did not want to weaken his king. But after g3, there's no way in. You could play h5. There's no way in. I'm going to reposition. I'm going to go to the dark squares. There's no way in. But he plays knight f3. And now, very well, black is back in the game. Queen g7. Very tense game. This is the $1 million game here for Arjun. He's taking huge risks to try to play for a win. Rook e6, queen e6, knight back to f3. Gurel is he's doing his best, right, against the madman. Now the time is equal. King f8. Like I said, controlled destruction. We're going to an endgame. Probably this is going to be a draw, but black still might outplay white. It's a bishop for a knight. The bishop is supposed to be better than the knight. Knight to h4. Bishop e4 defending. Knight back to f3, offering a draw. He's offering a draw, right? And the thing about Gurel is that he's got something in his pocket. Well, not actually, because they do fair play scans, but what I'm saying is he's playing someone who he knows is hell-bent on winning. He knows that whatever he does, Eric Geisy is going to try to win this game. So the king goes to d7. The queen goes back to e3. Again, he could play this for a win. He could play knight d2, go for the bishop goes back, and then he plays g4. If Gurel was playing me, he would be playing this game completely differently. But he plays queen e3. Maybe he's going to slide over there. The bishop goes back to d5. Knight going back to e1. Oh my goodness. Allowing Erigaisi to come forward. Queen D2. Erigaisi taking more space, restricting the structure, probably going to put some pressure over here. F3, very defensive, not allowing him in. H4, locking him in. King G1. Gurel is just waiting. He's waiting. And by the way, you can't play knight D3 because of this, so maybe that's why he went there. It's an idea in the future. Like, he's repeating moves. He's happy to make the draw. Erigaisi's like, no draw. King B7 now. I mean, this man wants to win this game so badly. Let's see if he's going to be able to pull it off. King H1, King A6. The king is walking directly into checks. Unbelievable. The knight goes to A3, and it's actually paying off. He might be taking over this game. I mean, Gurel is just kind of making moves. Bishop to E6, very passive. Queen F6, but there's no way through. Bishop F7, trying to bide some time. Knight B1, and now Erigaisi goes for it. C5. This is an insane move. The idea is that after takes, if white just continues to stall and do nothing, black is going to try to trade pieces. And then with a pass pawn, the game is over. That's all you need. You just need a pass pawn. He's trying desperately to create a pass pawn. Queen E2 check. The pawn can now get pushed forward again. This is unbelievable. The knight goes to A3. And here, if Queen D4, I think Arjun didn't like, not the queen trade. Don't trade queens here. Your king is completely out of the game. So this is just losing. But if you take with the pawn, then it's fine. If you take with the pawn, it's fine. He goes Queen E6. I mean, Arjun is just this is an unbelievable level of fighting spirit. Queen and bishop now defend the pawn. The pawn is a passer. It's 3 squares from queening. He's getting so close. Queen A4. And now Arjun with Queen E8 could actually maybe play this for a win. Queen E8 is the best move here. If takes, it's losing for a ridiculous reason. Bishop F7 is number 1, but it's actually the king. It's the fact that white's king is totally out of the game, which Arjun knows. And the king himself is like, all right, I guess I'm going to take care of business. So Queen A4. Now Arjun plays C6. It's not the best move. Knight B1. Queen G6. Okay, there's a draw if Arjun wants it, but there's been a draw 97 times in this game. Knight C3. It's how absurd is it? This queen just can't break through. Bishop D5. Now, I think he did that because you're kind of out of options. Black now has to defend. He weakened his king so much that even if you win the knight, that's a mouse slip. Even if you win the knight, it's a draw. You're trapped. You can't escape the checks. And Queen F7 you don't want to play here because it's a tricky queen endgame. So Bishop D5, he has to give this up, and Arjun is going for a queen endgame. And his logic is that the queen is defending the king, the pawn is defended, and this pawn is a passer. Controlled demolition. Everything in his power. He is going to squeeze water from stone. Queen D7. He makes a king move to avoid the perpetual check, right? Queen takes D5. At some point, you've got to bail. Arjun is now a pawn down. Queen G3, Queen E1 is a draw. He plays the only other move to keep the game going. If you take, the pawn promotes. So Gurel gives a check. Arjun can run with the king, but then I start pushing too. Offers a queen trade. Now the king is running. This is insane. Magnus Carlsen once described Arjun Erigaisi as a madman. This game is the best example. This man hates draws. I've never seen anything like this. No other 2750 plus plays like this. This man, except Magnus Carlsen, literally except Magnus. Magnus has been commended in his career for many things. Good hair, handsome, surprisingly athletic for somebody rated over 2,800 in chess. But it's the stamina. That's not a euphemism. It's the stamina. All right? Like, he keeps the game going. Queen F5, King B4. How do you stop the pawn? Now with white, if you play passively, you're going to probably lose. Probably you will lose. Because black will overwhelm you. You're okay, this is mate. This is why I'm here. I was just play A4 first. Okay, please. And then C3. Don't get mated, please. Queen F8 check. And now Arjun has to repeat moves. So Queen F5, Queen F8, King B5. And it is can go queen f5. He can actually make the draw. But suddenly, you don't become the #1 rated player in the country, in Turkey, by accident. He sits there and goes, what about d5? Spends 2 minutes, and he goes, you know that move from, I like to quote Dark Knight. You guys can write in the comments if this is a good impression. You know that moment in The Dark Knight when Bane is like, do you feel in charge? You know, he puts his like hand on the shoulder. Do you feel in charge? And Gurel goes here. And if you go all in, you don't make it in time. You're going to lose. But Arjun plays the best move. He plays queen d7. And now Gurel plays the only move. The only move in the position. This is like gangster. This is the young generation, the future generation. The pawn is promoting. And if you play d6 now, I stop the pawn. Then I queen. It's not simple. So Gurel plays the only move. This move doesn't even begin to look like it makes sense. a4 check. He gives up a pawn completely. He gives it up. Why? By the way, there's an argument to be made. The best move is king b6. So that you stay close to the pawn. Because now I go queen c5. And for the first time in a while, the evaluation is trying to jump off from 0. It's trying to, like a pogo stick. Why? Because this is deceptive for black. It's not that strong. I've cut off your king, and I'm going d6, queen c7, and at that point, I'm not sure you can stop me anymore. The best move may have been to go back, and now the best move is queen b5. Because after queen b5, queen d4, king b3, d6, c3, d7, this is not a joke. This is not a drill. This is where we are going. This is where we are going. We are about to have 4 queens on the board as Arjun Erigaisi makes the push for 2,800. This is bananas. Now, probably it's a draw. Why? Perpetual. By the way, you can try to trade queens, but you will lose the queen by virtue of deflection. King b4, queen f8, queen c5, queen b8. Oh my God. q5, b5. q5, b5. What the Queen b1. And how do you lose the queen? Queen c7? King d4? White is winning. Queen d1? This is aliens. This is aliens versus Transformers. Is that a movie? Somebody should make it a movie. What is going on here? This is the notation. q5, b5. qb, c5. Oh my God. But instead of going queen b5, Erigaisi goes king b3. And now he's losing if white plays check and then there, trying to trade in queen or just trade. Gurel plays the second best move, but as it so happens, he's winning anyway. And now Erigaisi's looking for this. He's like, all right, time to bail out. But guess what? It's too late. It's too late because he loses a pawn with check. More checks are on the way. And now the king just slides back. In an unbelievable turn of events, Gurel completely flips the table. Not actually, that doesn't happen at tournaments. And Erigaisi no longer has a draw. He doesn't have a draw anymore because of queen e8 controlling this. And now that's it. The pawn is queening. Unbelievable turnaround. Queen d4, d7, queen c6, queen c7, and he queens. Queen a1, there's a mate. If you play king f2, queen g1 is mate. That doesn't happen because queen a5 is a check. And Arjun Erigaisi resigns, falling just short of the quest to 2,800. And Idris Gurel from Turkey just got his highest win of his life, 27.97 FIDE win. I think it technically counts as 27.78, by the way, because that's his official rating. But a massive win for the #1 from Turkey. Couldn't be happier for the guy. I mean, this is one of those matchups I don't want either guy to lose. So not just yet. Arjun Erigaisi is not yet better than Hikaru. Not yet better than Magnus. He would have been inches away from being higher rated than Hikaru as #2 in the world. but he loses. He's going to lose like 5 or 6 points for this game, and he's going to have to reclimb. You don't always just surge there, and it's crazy because he didn't lose a game in the Olympiad, and the first game after the Olympiad, whether it's jet lag, because he's been flying all over the place. He met the Prime Minister of India. Modi, like, sat down. I think that's his title, right? Prime Minister. He sat down with all the Indians of the Olympiad. That was crazy. So, unfortunate for fans of Arjun, for fans of Indian chess, but listen, it happens. And listen, I love the fact that both these guys are part of the next generation, and Gurel took his chances. He waited, he was patient, and then he was like, right here, the most gangster moment of the game, defending the entire game, and then he's like, wait, what about d5? And then he wins the game. Huge win. Oh, exciting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and the next gen of chess, I think we're in good hands. They just gotta, like, you know, be better in interviews and a bit more social media savvy, and I think a lot of chess fans will fall in love with some of the players from their home nations. So that's all I have for you. I'm gonna go post some stuff on Snap, so check it out. Get out of here.